our dear audience. So we welcome you to the next panel of our symposium, and it is dedicated to media. Here we will discuss the media questions and media problems, how women are represented in Ukrainian media and in the media worldwide. Also how media writes about women all over the world and in Ukraine. So here we have distinguished panelists, and I would like to introduce each of them. So please welcome Yana Panyushkina. She's a journalist and the host of the First Page program on UA First TV channel. She's the editor of the Page Style website. She specializes in fashion, beauty, fitness, lifestyle. She has worked earlier at Kommersant Ukraine and Forbes Ukraine magazine. Also, please welcome Irina Tatarenko. She is the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire Ukraine magazine. She's author and teacher of the course Glossy Journalism, and she also a former editor-in-chief of Panorama. She is fond of cinema. Also, we have a speaker who joins us online, and this is Tamara Martsenyuk. She's candidate of sociological sciences. She's an associate professor of sociology at Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. She's a gender expert at the Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union. She's also a visiting Fulbright researcher at Columbia University at 2017-2018. She's the author of more than 100 scientific papers, journalistic articles, sections of textbooks and books. So ladies, we would like to speak today about media and women, how we are represented in the media, how media writes about us, and I would like to give the floor to Irina Tatarenko, the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire Ukraine. She has a wonderful presentation prepared for us, and she will speak about her projects.
Hello, I want to present my presentation, and Marie Claire is a fashion magazine, but it's a fashion magazine with soul, talking about actual topics and solving actual social problem are our main objectives. I want to present my special project. We made it for summer issue. It was a project about Ukrainian women. We want to research how the role of women has changed in the Ukrainian society during the 30 years of independence. In this special project, we have asked famous Ukrainian designers, writers, pioneers of the women's movement and journalists about the important events for typical Ukrainian women which happened in the last 30 years. A lot of our speakers told it is a repeal of the order of the Ministry of Health, which defined the list of 450 prohibited professions for women. It happened in 2017. Second, the movement «Я не боюся сказати» it's the Ukrainian analog of Metoo. And I remember this quote by Irina Danilevskaya, woman. She notes women in politics because if you're talking about first conviction, women percent was 2.5%, but if you're talking about now, it's 20.6%, and a lot of our respondents said me that they dreaming that ratification of the Istanbul Convention will be done. I want to present you our second project. It's fresh project. It's a project about Ukrainian women in space. The project is dedicated to the promotion of Ukrainian women in aerospace industry for the World Space Week, proclaimed by the Union Nations. In order to be able to talk in more detail about the achievements and problems they deal, heroines of different ages were invited. The head of the Department of Pump Units and professor is Galina. She is maybe 16 years, and young student Sofia, I think maybe she is 17. Now we are working on this project. It's a project about Ukrainian women in science. The project is dedicated to the promotion of Ukrainian women in science. It will be serious interviews with famous Ukrainian science. It's neurobiologist Vera Yefremova, biologist marine biologist Oksana Savenko, mathematics, science and mathematics Oksana Terlecka, and zoologist Oksana Shklyra. Ageism it's a big problem for Ukrainian society. I think it's very important because I have a deal with this problem every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times on my week. Ageism, it's a serious problem of the contemporary Ukrainian society. It was the main topic of the Marie Claire autumn issue, and it will be a main topic in the annual Marie Claire conference this year. Speakers of all ages and industries will be invited to that. We can discuss ways to address it together. And I want to talking about our future project. It's my favorite sphere. I'm a big fan of cinema, and it will be a project about the female face of contemporary Ukrainian cinema. We follow the world trend. We talk about Ukrainian women who have achieved success in cinematography, in particular the director who have already announced themselves aloud at world film festivals. It will be a series of interviews with them. Our heroines, it's Irina Tatarenko, Katerina Gornostai, Alina Gorlova, Marin Senekityuk, Natalia Vorozhbit, and Nadia Parfavyan. That's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your wonderful presentation, Irina. And it's really inspiring how magazine can make so many projects on such acute topics. I give the floor to Yana. Yana, yeah, please present your projects.
Hello, I'm a business journalist, and I think 2 weeks ago I worked in Kyiv Economic Forum, and I have a list of 100 the most richest people of Ukraine. And you will be surprised, but there are only 2 women. 24th is Filia Zhebrovska, and 99th is Natalia Bondareva. There are also 3 women. 2 of them are with their husbands, and 1 of them is with her brother. Then I wanted to see what is in the world, and I found the list of the richest people in the world, and I see that in the first 100 richest people, there are more than 10 women. I think about 12 or 13, and there are a lot of families, and I think that there are also women there. So 2 against 12. Why? It's bad news, but I also have good news. I work in a TV program. It's a weekly business TV program. It's on the first Ukrainian channel, and it's for the big audience. It's the most popular TV channel in Ukraine. I mean, it's has the biggest audience in Ukraine traditionally. It was founded, I think, when there were Soviet Union republics, and we find out that about our program. It's program about local business, and every week we found 4 business, 4 stories, and we found out that if in this story there is a woman, it would be successful. If there is no woman, the audience in Ukraine doesn't like such stories. We can find a man, the main person in the story, but there should be a woman, his wife, his sister, his daughter, his mother, or just his friend. But there should be a woman. For example, one of the stories that was very popular, it was about Crimean Tatar. He after the annexation of Crimea by Russian Federation, he came here to Kiev, and then he came to war. And he was a soldier, and when his wife was pregnant, he came to Kiev back. And they started their business. They prepared dishes from national Tatar cuisine, and his wife was his inspiration. They had a lot of problems, and when everything was broken, their restaurant was ограблен.
Robbed.
Yes, robbed it, and they had nothing, and he had only 50 hryvnia in his pocket. He came to supermarket, bought some products, and they started again. And his wife was his inspiration. And in every story, if we have woman, it will be very good. And that's good news for all of us. And also, I think that in Ukraine, in business, in Ukrainian business, everything will be okay, because in our country, I think that women are very respectful, and I think that it's because of our history. We were between 2 civilizations. In every century, we were between Western and Eastern parts of the world, and the biggest part of modern Ukraine was called wild field. In Ukrainian, it would be Дике поле, and there lived nobody, and people from the western part of Ukraine should protect themselves from this part where there were nobody. And in few words, that's why we had Zaporizhzhia Sich and Cossacks. And when all men, Cossacks, came to Zaporizhzhia Sich, all houses, all men job were on women's shoulders. And women are very respectful here, and we also have a joke in our country that when Ukrainian woman married some guy from Middle East, and he came and he tells her that when I come home and my head would be on the, for example, on the left side, you can speak to me. You can talk to me, and if it will be on the right side, don't talk to me. And she say, okay, honey, if you come home and my hands would be like this, you can speak to me. And if my hands would be like this, it's better not to speak to me. And I think that we have good future, even in business. And what is the most important here, that women like each other. They
Support.
They support each other. They support each other business, and it's true. I think it's from my opinion, from my experience, from my work. And the second part, what is very good in Ukraine, and I think it's good in the whole world, that we have very brilliant next generation. My daughter is 14, and I see that this is different generation. They are clever. They are confident. They are very. They had a very good sense of business, and also in the site, the page where I work. Also, we have project which is called STEM is Fem. It's about teenagers who are scientists in STEM. And
What is STEM?
Yes, STEM, it means mathematics and so on, science. It's
abbreviation.
Yes, and they are modern. They are very modern, not old-fashioned. And they have style, they have knowledge, they have self-confidence, and I think that we will have very great future with these children.
Thank you, Yana, for such an inspiring talk. And I give the floor to our next panelist, who is joining us online. Tamara, please, what can you tell about your sphere, about the projects you do?
Good evening to everyone, and thanks a lot for joining us in this discussion about women in media and gender equality in media. Actually, I represent academic community. I teach at university, and I do research also on gender equality in media. But I cooperate with some media, for example, with Ukrainian public broadcasting, television and radio. And which changes I see recently is that media start as corporations, as working places. They start to pay more and more attention to the issues of gender equality. They develop internal policies on prevention of discrimination and on ensuring gender equality. For example, Ukrainian public television and radio, they are developing such policies. And it's very important because in order to produce content that is gender sensitive, that is non-discriminatory, it's important to work in the environment where you don't have different stereotypes. And yesterday it was a very important event co-organized by UN Women Ukraine and also Starlight Media. It's called Media for She Congress. Actually, it's a part of He for She international campaign where both men and women, they fight together for gender equality. And on this Media for She Congress, a number of very important issues were raised. And for example, I'm happy to know that I developed for National Council of Television and Radio Broadcasting of Ukraine methodology of gender monitoring. And the head of this National Council, Olga Gerasimyuk, she said that they use this methodology and they do monitoring, for example, of some advertising and some news and media, and we could prove by figures that still women are underrepresented for example, as experts in different news and programs. And in Ukraine also Institute for Mass Information, they do annual monitoring, and a number of NGOs, and this monitoring, those monitorings, they demonstrate clearly that still there is actually a huge gap between numbers of female and male experts in programs that are perceived as so-called hard news and soft news, more social sphere where there are more women, and also in beauty sphere, and more serious topics like politics or military where there are much more male experts. But what is important that this is very actively discussed, and there are some changes. For example, I personally involved in advocacy campaign and research on women in military, invisible battalion, and we have sociological study, and we also have documentary and very taboo topics that were not discussed before. For example, sexual harassment in military. Recently, they were raised and discussed, and women, they become more and more visible in media in those spheres that were stereotypically perceived as more masculine. I also want to stress that it's very important that there are a number of special projects about visibility of women and gender equality. For example, I'm also a member of Facebook group Women in Media. This Facebook group has more than 1,000 women, and it's very important actually to have mutual support and to discuss different issues and to arrange different projects. I also have a special project for gender in detail online media. It's one of the most popular media where you could read different information, article, research on gender equality. And I have project on visibility of female activists and activists of women's and feminist movement, and that is called Fearless. They together build feminism in Ukraine, and I tried to make visible also some female journalists. For example, Bogdana Stelmach from Volyn Oblast, who organizes actually a Gender Media Congress and a number of other events. Also, it's about, I believe that men are very important in supporting gender equality and feminism, and I have some projects on feminist men. Finally, I would like to stress that recently we see that more popular public journalists, they openly support gender equality and feminist ideas. For example, Emma Antoniuk, she is a journalist from STB, and she recently even wrote a book, Feminism and City. And it's very important that human rights ideas, gender equality ideas, they are mainstreamed in different popular media, because, for example, from one hand we know that Hromadske or some other radios and they support gender equality, but it's very important to have these ideas more mainstreamed in different media. So I think that research proper professional education that raises issues of human rights is very important for visibility of women in media.
Tamara, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and your brilliant projects. They really mean a lot for our society and for Ukrainian women and for the women all over the world. And now I would like to talk about the magazine covers, actually. As we are all here mostly work in media, we are closely connected to fashion media. So how can we, me personally, I see that there are fashion magazine covers, they are becoming more diverse, and not even abroad, not even if we speak about the US magazine covers, for example, but here in Ukraine they are becoming really more diverse. Ladies, what do you think about that? Do you see that too?
What about your magazine?
Or is it is just my, how to say, or it is just my maybe illusion, or is it really so? What do you think, Jana?
I think that it's a good idea to talk about covers of women's magazine, because you know this. I saw one news this week. It was about last year Vogue United States Vogue cover, when there was Gary Styles in Gucci dress.
Mm-hmm.
The first man on women's magazine, but he was criticized by this actor who is always on Oscar red carpet in women beautiful.
Billy Piper.
Yes.
Yes.
He criticized him, and I saw this news in some. I don't remember where, but it was in internet. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting question, you know. Yeah. Maybe there we are not now on the first roles, women, on these covers. What do you think? Yeah. In Ukraine, I see women.
If you're talking about covers of Marie Claire, I don't remember, but 3 or 4 times men
appeared.
Yes, on cover of magazine, and I can't name our hero for new cover for winter issue, but it will a man.
It will be a man.
Yes, it will be a man, because we will talk on very important topic for Ukrainian and for Europe country and USA, and our hero will talk his private story about this important and heavy, тяжелое and heavy topic.
Mm-hmm. I will buy.
Thank you. We are intrigued because you know it's like it's such a miracle. I think that a man will appear on a fashion magazine here. It's like it's something new.
First time, yes. And what about the success among your readers? What covers do they prefer?
Men or women?
Yes.
Me?
No. I mean, what do readers like?
Читачи?
Да. Что больше покупают?
I think it's not a secret, and I think it's not a secret, you know, hard and stupid rules for glossy magazines, for glossy stories. You all time you can think about money side of covers of stories of main hero, of main stories, and now I'm not talk about Mary Claire, but I talk about only my experience in Glossy Ukrainian magazine. You can stay on the cover, color people who have a black skin, and you can stay on the cover people in oldest people. I don't know what
In Ukraine.
Люди поважного віку. I think I prefer this term, and because cover with people with black skin and with oldest people will not sell, and I think it's stupid. And but if you're talking about our readers, I think they prefer interesting story, and they really can buy magazine with interesting stories. And if you have interesting story, you can follow stupid rules in glossy magazines.
I think that it's in the whole mass media, not
I
only
don't know.
in women's magazines.
I have bad experience in Glance magazine. When I had a chance to make an interview with famous theater director. He died last year. Famous Ukrainian director from Lviv. Yes, Viktyuk. And I have a chance to make with him interview. But when I said this news, my chief editor, she said me, no, he is oldest and he had ugly neck, ugly old neck.
Incredible.
Yes, but it's Ukrainian reality. But this story happened 10 years ago.
I have something to say. In TV, the situation is opposite. If you have eldest people, it's success.
Really? Wow.
And because all audience who watching TV, they are not young, and they like to see people like them. They like and even more. I see this trend in fashion. I think you also see it in all Ukrainian Fashion Week season. I see models with поважного віку.
Elder age.
I want to say elder age. I want to say something like they are in wise age, maybe like this. And we also have a story in our program about models of elderly age. And you know, these models were very hot, men and women, and they were very hot.
How old?
Hot,
approximately how old?
More than 60 years, men and women, and they look fantastic, especially men.
Very, very, very nice insight.
And hot in the meaning of this word, you know, sexy.
Okay, thank you for this nice insight.
Yes.
Let's ask Tamara. Tamara, what do you think about this topic? About fashion covers? Do they change? Do the heroes that appear there change in Ukraine and in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. When, for example, we just open Vogue covers, we could see recently diversity of women of different age, different skin color, also different background. They are not only from the sphere of music, beauty, but for example, Malala, I am very positively impressed to see a very famous activist Malala, who became the youngest laureate of Nobel Peace Prize, and she is on a Vogue cover. Also, of course, famous female politicians. Like Kamala Harris or Michelle Obama. So the recent trend is diversity, and definitely, as you said, the last very interesting phenomena that men appear. And as I said, I think it's interesting trend when men they come to fashion industry. From one hand, I think also to support women and to show that masculinity is also changing. That masculinity, it's in media, it's not about to be tough and strong, but it's also about sensitivity, emotions, some bright colors. So I think it's a rather positive trend.
It's a very important message that masculinity is changing as well. And Jana mentioned Harry Styles on a magazine cover, and he's really the perfect examples of this change in masculinity. And to add something from me, recently I've been impressed by Jane Fonda on a magazine cover, and I think it's a very nice example of fashion magazine management being so brave to put her as an icon.
And she is the face of L'Oreal.
Yeah.
And also Helen Millen.
Yes.
She is also the face of L'Oreal. I think that it's a trend, and I think it will come to Ukraine and to Ukrainian women magazine also.
Yeah, and I think it's very timely that Mary Claire Ukraine is making this forum, this conference about anti-aging. Mm-hmm. Some years ago, you've invited May Musk to
Yes.
Can you tell us more?
I can't tell more about this conference with May Musk, but 1 week ago я получила. I received a letter from her manager. She will go to Ukraine, and her assistant asked me about Ukrainian designers for her? Yes, for her.
And whom do you recommend? for mother of Elon Musk.
A golden ticket at once.
I asked her assistant to write me more details for her style preferences. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Because I prefer Tom Klimchuk, but I don't know.
Very good recommendation.
Yeah, I agree. Nice choice, ladies.
But now we connecting with assistant Isabelle Huppert, because she is fashion icon, and she take part in runway Balenciaga, and my big dream that she will stay our hero in our future conference, but it's very hard, and maybe it's only my dream.
Wishing you success with that, because we really hope that Isabelle Huppert can come to Kiev and be the star of your conference. Okay. We'll see, but fingers crossed. Ladies, meanwhile, we have a question from the audience, so I'm reading it. Thank you, ladies, for the wonderful insights, and I believe so. The question is, will there come time when glossy and glamour aesthetic will fall out of fashion in Ukraine? What will come next? if ever we will lose interest in glamour and glossy style.
I think
What do
that
you think?
we have this trend now. Glossy and glamour are coming out. I mean, coming out from the stage, and I think people like to see people like them. I think we have something very comfortable, but very nice, and all this trend for sustainable fashion, for vintage, reuse, and so on. And I think that it would be sustainable fashion in all this meaning. It could be glamour, it could be glossy, but it should be sustainable.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
that it's the most trend now, and I see it even in, I think, for 2 years in Ukraine, in all Ukrainian Fashion Week season.
Yes, agree, and I can add that Ukrainian, the younger generation, they do not like glamour. I think they are like more into this genderless fashion where you can mix, you cannot distinguish whether it is a boy or a girl. So they have the same clothes, and this gender fluidity. This is definitely the trend for our younger generation. So I think this is the era of glamour is definitely ending here. Yes, Tamara, what do you think?
Oh, I think that in the society there are always different groups, and it's actually very good that there is some diversity. And I do think that there will be some groups, probably smaller ones, that still support this glamour and all this bright colors and. It's about high fashion, and it always existed, and I don't think that it's something bad when there is such diversity of different views. So I do think that it will continue, but it will be together with a number of other trends. And of course, I support environmental friendly trends and all these issues. But at the same time, it's nice to have diversity.
Thank you, Tamara. So I would like you ladies to give some recommendations to our audience. What media can you recommend them to read and to follow, the ones that you consider like being female supporting, or at least some female friendly? Which ones, apart from yours media?
Of course, I can say that Mary Claire, the page, Persha Spalta. I'm joking. I think that now you can read all magazines, and if you see all media, if what you like, and the main point is that if you see something that is not good, you should break this wall. You should write to this editorial to the editor-in-chief, to journalists. You can write it in your social media. Social media now has very great power. If every time when I do some story for TV program, almost every person is making his business through social media. It has very great power, and you can write to your social media and tag all these people. And I think that we should break this wall.
Yeah, I think it's a very powerful message. Thank you, Yana. Ira, what do you think? What media can you recommend?
I understand. today people haven't a lot of time, and but we need reading because it's like eating. It's like чистить зубы. I don't remember.
Yes.
To do
brushing teeth.
Brushing teeth. But I'm reading and I'm listening news for creation unique ideas in my head, because if you want to have unique ideas, you have to use unique information. For me, unique information from Radio Suspirne is maybe it's advertising, but I think it's very contemporary media source. It's my recommendation. I can't recommendation media for I can't delete so.
Divide.
I don't divide media for women and for men. It's I divide media for contemporary people and other.
Okay.
I also want to say that I work in internet, and there is the second point. And what you read, it mostly depend. What you will read, it mostly depend on what you are reading now. If you are open good article about wise things, you should read it by the end, because internet, it's like Google, it's for mathematics, and he sees that this person reads this article till the end. It's good. I will show it more. And all editorial, they look. They see all these figures, and I can't understand why we put some wise articles about problems, about sustainability, about diversity, and so on, about ecology, but people don't read it, and they read why Kim Kardashian wear mask and make up underneath. Why? And there are a lot of people who read it, and nobody who read about sustainable fashion and so on. So my second recommendation, is to read interesting wise articles till the end.
Yeah. To how to say, to break the algorithm,
Yes,
of Google,
exactly.
to see more. Yes, Tamara, what are your recommendations as for the media?
I will repeat my recommendations. It's online resource, Gender в деталях, Gender in Detail, but also a number of other media like VOMO, it's for working mothers, or The Девочки, The Village, and others. Also, I recommend public broadcasting, UA Suspilne, UA Culture, it's UA Kultura, and actually, I support the idea that we should. I also like long reads, and I agree that we used to some short articles, but I advise you to read a lot, rather, I would say, long and interesting, profound articles on the problems that you want to know more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for all your recommendations. I think they are very precious. And meanwhile, we have a question from the audience, and we have a question from a gentleman. So it means that gentlemen are also watching us, and they are interested and they are inspired by our talk. So we have a question from Vitaly. He asks, "From my experience, I know most of women are introverts. They usually think about their health, in contrary to men, which are mostly extroverts, and usually they are concerned about global problems. What do you think?" So such an interesting question, which is rather psychological, I would say.
Very interesting question. I try to understand. Women are introvert.
Yes.
It's inside.
Yes.
And men are extrovert.
Exactly.
It's
yes. Outside.
And what women do for their health?
They think about their health, and men, they think about global problems.
Yes, because about men's health, women think. I know my husband. I make all appointment with doctors so he can think about world's problem. But I think it's very good that men should think about the world, and they are strong.
Yeah.
You know, it's natural for men to think about global problems, and women they give birth to children, and they are more. We have good word in Russian, приземляться.
They are more grounded.
Yes, they are grounded, and it's by nature, because women think about their children, they think about their family, men also. But I think that it's a natural thing. Maybe I am not right. It's my
but
opinion.
This is your opinion. Yes. Ira, what do you think? Do you have some remarks about this question?
I like interesting questions because I'm a journalist and my favorite genre is interview. I like do it, and I haven't answer on this ask, but I think I'm extrovert and I'm woman, and I can't divide people and men and women on extrovert and introvert.
Maybe it's rather a rhetorical question.
Yes, it's rhetorical. It's a very interesting question. Dear Vitalik, can I use your question for my next interview?
That's a good idea, I think. Your question was, what is happiness for you? How happiness smells?
Yes, it's my favorite question.
And now it would be your second favorite question. I'm also extrovert.
Me too, I guess.
But I think first about my family. I think it's because we are women, but we think globally. Three of us. Thank you for question.
And let's ask Tamara. Tamara, what do you think?
Why? In sociology, we talk a lot about socialization. And I think that men are lucky to have the privilege to think about global problems, as far as there are women around who are involved in more, I agree with previous speakers, who are involved more in local problems, like taking care of family, of their own health and children's health. I don't think that it's about being extrovert or introvert, but it's about having time to think on global problems. So men are quite lucky with this.
Yes. Exactly. So we don't have any more questions, and I'd like to thank to all our panelists for the brilliant talk. So we had so many insights, so many recommendations, so many even philosophical talk. Thank you, Tamara, to you that you could join us online, and thank you, Jana, and thank you, Ira. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And dear viewers, so we're having our last panel, which will be dedicated to business, the short break. Дякую.